So FLNC was the first one. And honestly, like I shouldn't have been trading it today. I didn't realize it has earnings tomorrow. Or is it? What day is it? Today is Wednesday. It has earnings today. So that's crazy. I can't believe that I did a trade on a name that has earnings today, trying to get a swing off the ground. But it just means I have some work to do to make sure that as part of my process, I don't do that again. So I'll just tell you what I was doing. The reason I was interested is because it's a daily EMA 12 rider up this whole way. And it was coming down into the zone. If you go right down to the 1 minute, you'll see it was a 1 minute EMA 12 rider into the open. Let me get this extended hours on. And this candle here was the first time it closed above the 1 minute EMA 12. So on the pullback here, I was looking for a dip and a bounce. So I bought as it got, like just because the risk was so tight to this low, I could put on, relatively smaller size and still get a really big win if it goes up from there. So my hope was that this candle was going to get bought right back up, but it didn't. And you can see it came down and stopped me out on the next candle. That was because my size was small enough. Like it's such an interesting thing. Like the way I look at this is if this candle had held and then you rallied out of that, then my risk would have had to been somewhere like up here, right? So say on the next candle it goes up and it just shoots up from there, then I've got a risk from there to there. So if you just look at the size of this, so it's like 50 cents from there to there, or 3 cents from there to there. And so my size can be absolutely tiny down here on the off chance that this is actually going to work, as opposed to my size has to be, the number of shares I can buy is fewer at the higher price. So I just thought I'd give it a shot. And it didn't work, and that's fine. I took a small loss on that. I'd say probably quarter of a day loser, as far as my standard sizing goes. But a little disappointing to take that loss, especially considering that I shouldn't have even been trying this trade. There was a reason it was going down today, and I'm sure it was because of earnings. And like even then, like there was a better setup here on the 5 minute where held 5 minute EMA 12 all the way down, got above here, set a higher low, and away. So that would have been a better trade. But this is kind of what I was looking for, right? Like you get the move above, you get a dip down below. Depending on how close that dip gets to the low, I either wait for the high of this low bar to break to the upside and I get long there, or if it gives me a super tight risk to the low of that, I might give it a shot for a much smaller number of shares. And just on the off chance that works, the win can be really big. So anyway, FLNC was a loss. Next loss was ONDS. This one was a weekly EMA 12 rider. Kind of, it had held up here, held up here, held up here. I was looking for it to hold again on this massive pullback. And so when it came into the zone, I was interested. So go down to the daily, the 30, have a look here. You can see where I ended up buying somewhere in here. And I'm looking at this, I'm aware of this like weekly EMA 12 level over here coming across. It's basically flat. So I know as soon as it gets in that spot, this is sort of the area that I need to be looking. Let's see, was it a 2 minute rider? Yes, and so same thing. This one got above, like I got to close above the moving average, and then came down lower, and I was giving it a shot, just plain price action trading. I bought the dip, it did not work, stopped me out again. So two of the same types of trades not working, where the moving average gets violated, and I think it might be a higher low, and I'm basically taking a shot in the dark with relatively small size. But these two were basically equally sized, so these were roughly equal losses. And at that point, I was like, okay, no more of those. I'm not trying that anymore today. And this one just kept going down and down and down. Got to bounce into the end of the day just with everything else. This is like a market bounce. So this one, I should have known just based on how choppy this has been down here at the weekly. Like it's not going to be that easy to catch this one. And you probably need a higher time frame than the 1 or 2 minute to get long. So here on the 5 minute, this is a nice one here. But my broke the moving average rider right here would have failed again on this time frame on the 5. Here it got above, and then it didn't give a higher low until here, and now you're in the close. Like, this is a tough one. So I just gave up on that one. Next one was Meta. I was actually really interested in Meta because it's on the daily time frame. We had this earnings gap up, and then it's been coming down. It's scouting a daily higher low from this huge move down, right? We had this big flush down, got the weekly higher low, massive move up on earnings. We had a gap fill below. So coming into the day, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe we could get long against the gap fill. Like maybe that would be a good place for the bounce, because price loves to fill gaps, as you can see right here, right? From this look where the high was here. Filled the gap, boom. Coming back down, filling another gap. So I was just like, it does trade pretty technically. So maybe this is going to be a good one. So down in the 30-minute time frame, I saw we were weak pre-market, and so that had me excited for this one. This was my top watch on the morning. Go down to the 5, see what was happening. So it looks like we hit a low, and then I got in a little bit late here on this bounce, but I gave it a shot here. I must have been on the 2-minute. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. So it was a 2-minute rider down, hit the rider again, set a higher low, and came up here and broke right there. And I was basically saying, well, this is going to work here against this low here, or it's not going to work. And so I got long here, came all the way up. I didn't sell any because it was like a 2-minute rider. I sold half up here, I think it was. And then it's set. Then I'm aware, that this is probably going to be a 15-minute. Let me see here. 1 second while I get my chart. Okay, so I put this other blue line here is the 15-minute EMA 12, right? So as we're getting this bounce going and I'm getting in on a 2-minute higher low, I'm aware the resistance is going to be the 15-minute. It's been rejecting it since the open, probably going to reject it again. So I should definitely take some off, right? So I take my half position off here. Then we come back in, we hold 2-minute EMA 12, we get a bounce, set a 2-minute lower high, start coming in lower. I sold another portion there because I'm like, well, it's not really showing me the strength I want to see. Like if this is really going to work off these lows after filling this gap, I wanted to get above the 15-minute EMA 12. Show me a back to high of day, and then go for the higher low, and then I'll hold on. But here when you're, that's a decent place right here to get your risk off on the 2-minute stair-step break. But once it can't continue the 2-minute trend, forget it. I've seen this party before, and if you see my trade review from yesterday on, what was it? Anyway, same MU, right? MU, same thing happened yesterday. 50-minute EMA 12 resistance held it down, and so I ended up stopping out on the balance. I think I moved my stop up to here. Once it set this lower low, I was like, okay, I'm going to give you one more chance to get back up, and when it couldn't, I stopped myself out there on the balance. So I actually got stopped on this, but I did not break even on it. I actually made a decent amount of money because I sized it pretty well. And so this was the first knock against the losses that I had taken on those other trades. So that was nice. The next one was go to the daily time frame and look at NVIDIA. I have not been trading NVIDIA at all in a long time, and I love NVIDIA. Normally, I used to trade it a lot, but since we've been in this balance, I'm just not really interested. But I'm looking at NVIDIA here today as it's coming down. I'm looking at the monthly EMA 12 coming up, and I said it before recently, like I'm super interested to get long NVIDIA if it can come back in and give me a look below and fail on this range that it's been in. Now, of course, I'm aware that there's the potential of a sort of head and shoulders look to this, but I just believe that NVIDIA is a great stock, high value stock, and I do think that after some type of consolidation, sideways, down, whatever, it's going to go up again. And so I'm interested, right? Even if it's like beginning a dollar cost average into my IRA position as it starts to come down, that's something that I'm interested in too. And so when it was dipping in today, I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's a nice spot too. We've got this technical level here, whatever this is, like 170-ish, and it's coming in towards it. We've got monthly EMA 12 support coming up. It's been in balance. I could see this rallying out of this, even though technically, it's a high and then a lower low. So we broke this uptrend we were in on, that must be the weekly time frame. Yeah, so we had a low, high, higher low, higher high, lower low. So, but I just don't care. I mean, I'm aware that we're in balance. I think the dip is worth buying, so I thought I'd give this a shot. And let's go down to the 5-minute on the day. You'll see what I did. So 5-minute EMA 12 rider all the way down. It did get above it here, but then couldn't. I'm no longer in the business today of buying dips like this. Like it's dipping down, I'm just going to risk it to there. No, not doing that because it's proven that that's not working today. So I need to see a show of strength. So I waited for a higher low. We got that higher low, so I bought right here. I got risk-free on this from here to there, right? So right here, I sold a portion to be risk-free. And then it started to come back in, and I did not hold on like a dummy. I actually, when it came back in, and it set, I think I was too zoomed in maybe. It set a low, lower high, and started coming in again, and I raised my stop to break even, got stopped out, and then it went without me. So that's like not cool at all. And part of it is because, this wasn't really on my radar as a thing to be trading right here. It's not technically an awesome spot. It's not a perfect daily high or low or something like that, like I would normally go for. So I was less patient with it. I didn't give it as much leash. And now here in the after hours, it's getting a nice move. Like, kind of disappointing I didn't hold on to that position. But it was a win, because again, I put my stop to break even. So with my Meta win and my NVIDIA win, I was almost back to break even. SNDK was the next one. SNDK, yes. So SNDK had been high, higher, low, higher, high. Now coming in lower, but like I thought it might hold this 12-hour at EMA 12 again. It looks like that's not going to happen, and it needs some deeper consolidation. Probably it is going to get a bounce. That's my guess. Is it's probably going to do something like this, because SNDK can be a bit of a tough one to trade. But I'm aware that there could have been a bounce in here, and I was looking for it to really just V-shape out of this again, like it's been doing in the past. So down to the 5, I'll show you what I did. I was aware that we had this 600 technical level, which was right around the 12-hour EMA 12, and so I was looking for some sort of flush to happen. And here, I'm on the 1 minute. So we started to get this accelerated move to the downside, and we're getting extended. We're getting a little bit of air pockets starting to show up between the moving average and price, and we're flushing in through 600. So as soon as we broke 600 on this one candle here, I bought, and I didn't really have a stop nearby. So I was just sort of going on like, if we break 600, what's a reasonable level of risk to give? And I think I gave 1% of risk. So a 1% move from here would be down here somewhere. So right under 594 was what I was risking there. And so I was doing something, I was planning on something like this, right? And then when it bounced, it went lower. I just sat there in it. It went lower. And then when it bounced, I basically raised my stop to there. And then my risk profile changes, right? Then I can get risk-free sooner if I want to, but it just kept going. And so I rode this most of the way up. I think on the 2 minute was what I was doing. Yeah. So after getting long here, I just rode it up, and here on the 2 minute stair step break, I was out. I think that's how I did it. A little foggy now, but either way, this was another win, even though it stopped me out. So it came in, said it. I was looking at this relative to other names, and I'm just aware that this thing is not that strong, right? We got a downtrending resistance line here that it could not get above. And meanwhile, QQQ is actually stronger than this thing now, where this had been showing some relative strength in the morning. Now it was weaker than Q's. And I'm like, if Q's is getting a better bounce on this thing than this, then I'm not in good shape here. And so got a higher low, lower, and I was really excited when I saw this moving up, and I thought, oh cool, we're actually going to get higher here, and then it completely stuffed. So as soon as I saw it stuffing there, I was out of this one. SNDK is a tough one too, where like, because you've got to be a little more loose with your stops and stuff, my size was much smaller, so this didn't actually even get me to the break even on these trades. They got me close. I think by the time I was done with these 3 trades, I was basically like minus $30 or something on the day, basically flat on the day. And then I was thinking I'm done for the day. I was looking at QQQ, and it was getting its big bounce on, and I thought, I missed the bounce that was happening for everybody today on this nice move down. But we are still hourly in a downtrend, so I'm not going to FOMO into this thing at all. And then I was just glancing around at the charts, and I'm aware that Apple hit daily oversold recently and has had a really beautiful bounce out of that, and it's been rallying and showing crazy strength in the face of all this market weakness. And then I see here on the 5 minute that, not the 50 minute, the 5 minute, that it was sort of chopping down, and then it had this tight balance for hours that was breaking out. And so I just ran over and I bought some Apple right there. And it was crazy. On the 1 minute, I saw this and I was like, whoa, this thing is breaking out of this range, has been fighting against. And I put my stop there. And I was like, I wonder if I can get risk free on this thing. And it just went jets straight up. And I held most of it all the way through until it broke the 1 minute stair step. And then I just got out of it. And that put me solidly green on the day. Even with small size, that little trade was just a beauty. And it's just purely based on like, I don't think it's a great location. This is just an intraday trade just to sort of get myself back above zero and into the green zone. And that's what I did. So that's all the trades I did today. None of my positioning worked out. I was not able to get into any swings. So really disappointed there. But it's a fresh day tomorrow, and I've got a big list of riders I've got to go through and clean up, see what's working, what's not. And one of the other things I've been thinking is I want to take a closer look at materials, because look at these materials names. They're just like super strong today. So I want to go through this list and find what are the time frames these are riding, and where should I be looking to get long on some of these materials names. So that's it for me overnight and into tomorrow.